Hello, welcome along to the Champion Sports Chat podcast. We're looking back on what was a busy and overall, in the majority, a successful weekend for Clare across a number of codes. Peter O'Connell and Fergie Loughlin here to look back on the weekend's action. Lads, we'll start, I guess, with maybe the main event in terms of the results. I guess going down into the Lions Den, Fergie, of Wexford Park, probably not ever an easy task to do. A game of two halves. I think Davy described it afterwards like a wild day in West Clare. It was the breeze that was there and everything, but I mean, number one, you've got to be very impressed with the results, but I imagine even more so the performance.
Yeah, as you said, the real thing was going down into Wexford Park, very hard place to go. Now, look at Derrick, the conditions were horrific. There was a savage breeze down there. It wasn't a breeze, it was a hurricane. It was very, very difficult, puck outs from both goalkeepers. Not so much the puck out for the Wexford goalkeeper against it, because Clare allowed them to go short nearly in every puck out and then pushed up nice and fast and quick. Ryan Taylor was very, very busy in the first half and he was effective. He broke up an awful lot of the Wexford short puck outs, and not only did he break them up, if he didn't break them up, he put awful pressure on the corner backs to make that extra pass to really build up. What we know Wexford can do is run off the shoulder and that. And in the second half, Davy decided to push up on the cornerbacks and make Donald Tui go along with the puck out, and in return, like it was hanging in the air for a while and often come back to their own half back line. And in return, I suppose we saw a problem that we've kind of highlighted, is that on the two wings with Ian Galvin and David Reedy, we haven't the biggest men. We're very dynamic hurlers, very fast and quick, and the two of them were taken off. And I think probably tactically the reason why, because the aerial ball in the second half they weren't able to contest. So that would be one of the little problems I see going forward, even on a normal day, that if we do have to go along and teams decide to push up, that we could be in trouble in that area. But look, it was a fantastic spirited performance, Derrick. The hurling wasn't fantastic. Conditions didn't allow it to be really good. There was a lot of mistakes from both sides, but we've spoken about since Brian Lohan took over this Clare team, that we're hoping to see, and we're holding on to the key things that we'll see: the real spirit, the real aggressiveness, the real hunting down, the real never say die attitude that Lohan had himself when he was a player. And we saw bags of it on Sunday. And I suppose the key thing, the performance of Tony Kelly, Derrick, it was absolutely outstanding. Back to his very, very best. And he was a thorn on the Wexford side, and even tried to put him off his game. I think it was Sean Murphy had a real engagement with him for about 2 or 3 minutes. The referee had to come in between him and several, trying to get him off his game. And tactically, Wexford were trying to. They knew Tony was causing so much trouble. It didn't work. But no, you'd have to be very pleased going to Wexford Park. I thought it was going to be very difficult going down there, but you'd have to be very pleased with the performance. Yeah.
And Peter, I suppose from a result perspective now, we sat here at the start of the league and said Clare need to be pushing on to the knockout stages, probably need as many games as we can for Brian to settle in and do what he wants to do. And in many ways, with the greatest respect to Dublin and Laois, we have those two at home. I think Laois in 2 weeks' time, you have to go to Kilkenny as well, but having beaten one of the other big two, I guess, in your group, we're probably guaranteed the next stage now, which is a serious tick in the box.
Yeah, I think a great game to win for any team is a game where you mightn't be expected to win it, where you kind of have to show something that you haven't shown before. I know it's very early in the year, but going down to Wexford, I think Wexford would have, Wexford over the last couple of years, particularly last year, had a much better year than Clare. So it was a really good test. The Carlow game, I think, would have been an opportunity just to get a run out, but then you needed something to really know where you are, and I think that they showed down there, like as Fergie said, conditions very, very tough. So like in a pure hurling sense, it's kind of hard enough to judge it. But the thing you need first is, are they prepared to fight for everything? Are they prepared to outwork whoever they're playing? Are they putting the hand up? Like, to my mind, up to this point, David Fitzgerald, I think, has been really, really good at centre forward. Mm-hmm. Winning a lot of ball, and an awful lot of ball breaking off him as well, Fergie. And like, I didn't see the full game now because I was at the football, but the bit that I saw, like, he wasn't winning every single ball that went up around that area of the field, but almost every single ball was breaking off him, so that the likes of, on a better day, the likes of Ian Galvin, David Reedy, Tony Kelly, like the likes of them breaking onto ball, going into space. Do you think is that something like Fitzgerald, I think, has the hurling to be able to work there during the summer as well? You know, he put over 3 points as
he
well.
got 3 points from play, and he was a thorn on their side, especially in the first 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. He got onto a massive amount of ball. He got a few frees. He got 3 points, and he worked awful hard. And he engaged himself. And there was 1 or 2 times when you'd be kind of saying that once he wouldn't cross the line of getting a second yellow card, but he engaged himself. He wasn't allowed being pushed around too much, and you have to know then that I can't. He was on a yellow card, and I can't get another one. I must toe the line and play close to the edge, but just be very, very careful. And that's the one thing you'd be probably worried about Fitzy, that often at times he goes over that mark a little bit. And but no, definitely it's working out. He's a big unit. He's
mobile as well. Like,
he's mobile. He is.
And he likes to hurl.
And he likes to hurl. Yeah, he likes to hurl. And I think he'll probably grow better and bigger into the role. And what you do find is that you just touched on it, Peter, is that a lot of breaks are coming off it, and Kelly is onto him. He's onto him. He's rapid onto him. And I suppose just not to keep harping on the thing, is that if we do need to keep going down the spine to him, it'd be a real test for him to keep that relentless kind of able to get in the air, able to take it on, able to run, able to try and defend a little bit. So he'll need another kind of similar shape man, a 6-footer that's mobile, that's able to go with the ball, that's able to catch aerial ball from puck outs or from general play, and that's able to link up, is going to be important.
And I suppose they're going to need a bit of variety as well, because Dave Fitzgerald working very well at the moment, but obviously other managers are going to spot that, especially come summer, if he's still playing there. Like.
Yeah, 100%. And we all do know the modern game, what it has brought, and Peter, is that no longer is the centre forward sitting down top of the centre back and it's a 50-50 lob it down on top of me. Most centre forwards now are working off the 14 to 15 yards in front, and they're coming short. And you mentioned it, Derrick. Fitzgerald is very mobile in doing that, but he's able to get underneath high aerial ball. He's able to break up half back lines that are coming out. Defensively minded, he's very good. And that's obviously coming from playing in defence as well. He knows how to break up play, because Wexford do. The one thing I'd be very pleased about, Wexford, we've seen over the last number of years since Davy went to Wexford's work ethic is absolutely fantastic. Now Clare matched that, if not outdone them on Sunday, which was with 14 men, for most of the game. Which was great to see. Now, Brian will be under no illusions. There's a massive amount of work to do hurling wise. I saw the Cork and Tip game on the telly, and if you trying to mirror both of those, like it was like chalk and cheese. Hurling wise, different conditions as well. I presume a little bit. There was no massive breeze in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but you'd have to be very, very pleased with the demeanour and the setup, and you could even anybody. I heard lads speaking afterwards about, I knew there was going to be no attention on the sideline. We all knew there was probably going to be no handshake, but it added to the whole thing down there, because definitely anybody said they weren't taking any notice of the sideline would have been fooling themselves. I was engaged in the sideline. The fourth official, God love him, he must still have a headache, because both Brian Lohan and Davy Fitzgerald absolutely tore him to shreds nearly in every decision the referee made. They were onto the fourth official, so there was no quarters given in that. As soon as David make an engagement with the fourth official or social Bulfin, Lohan did the same, or Kinrelf did the same. So they weren't going to be outdone in the sideline by any kind of.
And you need that Fergie as well.
100%. Like, I've always this demeanour, again, once you don't go over the line, like, you can't ask your players to be tigers on the field and then you be a mouse on the sideline, within the rules and within the boundaries. But you have to match what the opposing management team are going to be doing. Otherwise you're going to be. And Lohan has got it at first hand from Davy, in LIT, when Dan Bush came from the bushes, and he wasn't going to allow that to happen on the sideline. And as much as Wexford engaged in the sideline, Clare were engaging as well, and it was good to see.
Two questions, Fergie. Yes. One on the game and one a broader one that we've discussed several times. I think you know what it is. But first question, and Brian seemed to agree that it was the John Conlon raid. Was it justified?
Look, again, by the letter of the law, you'd have to say it was. But again, it'll have to be looked at, Derek. John Conlon was coming at pace back out the field, and the full back got possession of the ball. Foley, I think, was given Foley actually, and he kind of went low again a bit, and Conlon was committed to the tackle, and he caught him high. He caught him around the helmet, and that, I just think, okay, by the letter of the law, and if you put me there in front of him, we went to court with it, Derek, I'd get jail. I would. But I think there has to be, we have to look at in favour of the player. If it was, you were going through and I caught you by the helmet and pulled you back, or caught you high, designedly to take you out of the game, definitely a red card. But Conlon was in midstream coming back, the tackle went in high, and you knew straight away, oh geez, I'm after going high. Okay, letter of the law, red card. But the famous word I use, common sense, and I'm not really, I'm sitting on the fence in it really, if you get me, which I don't like doing. You do an awful lot of it, and Peter does sit in the fence and a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
But
let's go to court now, will we?
But look, Conlon was awfully committed to the tackle, and I don't think too many, if Wexford would have been probably a little bit for 10 seconds a bit animated if he didn't get a red card, but I'd say that they've seen the nature of him being committed, and but look, letter of the law, it was a red card.
Right, Peter, we have to sit up straight now, so I think that's a rallying call, isn't it?
Yeah.
It leads me into the second question, Fergie.
Yes,
I think if Peter was on the fence before this, but by God, he's over on my shoulder now. We've spoken about it a couple of times in commentaries that we've done together, and I've often said it in almost a joking fashion that hurling needs the black card. Now in the last week or so, we've got the news that at this Congress that's upcoming, it might be introduced. We saw instances in that Cork and Tip game that you referenced that was highlighted afterwards on social media. This commentary, this almost holier than thou approach that I find that hurling people will say, there's no cynicism in hurling, we don't do pull downs in hurling, we don't do the cynical stuff. It happens, and it has to be cut out. Now, what I would ask is, number one, is the black card the right way to do it? And if it's not, should you then impose, where if it's a penalty situation, something a bit stronger, a penalty and a red card, or something? Like, how penal do we need to get to stamp that cynicism out of hurling, do you think?
I'm 100% sure on this. There is nothing wrong with the game of hurling. We have the most brilliant game in the world. We have the fastest game. We have the most skillful game in the world. It doesn't need...
So there's no cynical play?
Well, no. It doesn't need to be destroyed. Now, to me, bringing in a black card is absolutely crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. I hear Donald Logue on the Sunday game saying that now the tackle with what I call the sleepy hand shouldn't be allowed. You should all the time have two hands on your hurley. Crazy stuff. It's about tackling. It's about perfecting the skill of tackling. Yes, look, you drag down somebody going through, you pull the jersey back. I think the punishment is a free in. It's probably a yellow card or a good warning by the referee. Or in a situation where it's really, really, obvious that you're pulled down and a penalty is given, that maybe if you put it over the bar, it's worth 2 points instead of 1. But putting a black card in hurling would absolutely destroy our game. Because look, we've seen it since the black card came in football. As much and all as ye football people like to see you're stamping out all this kind of bringing down people, designing and all that. I think it's been such a grey area. Referees don't know really, is it a pull down or was it meant, or was it caused awful confusion. So leave hurling alone. It is perfect. No need to change it. Just one other thing, Derek, about the referee on Sunday, Sean Clare. If that's going to be the standard on the refereeing for the rest of the year, we're in serious trouble in hurling. He was so poor on Sunday. It was unbelievable. And I mean, how do I mean by poor? He was so inconsistent. There was times he let things go. There was times he pulled Wexford for frees, and he let Clare players go. There was times he pulled Clare players for frees, and then we could see 20 seconds later the same tackle being occurred and let it go. It was so inconsistent on Sunday, and he didn't add to the game being a spectacle and the hurling fronts, because it was stop-start, it was blow, and it was so inconsistent.
We'll come back to that. Peter, take up the cynical hurling point. Fergie claims the game of hurling is perfect. There's no cynicism. The Cork Tipperary game, there's the penalty to Tipperary. It wasn't a cynical pull down by the defender when there was a clear goal scoring chance. I thought it was, but there you are.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is cynicism in hurling. There's cynicism in every single sport, and the higher the level you go, the more cynicism there is. It's part of sport, not just hurling. But I wouldn't like to see a black card being brought in. I have to say, I think, my main reason for that is I don't really trust the GA in terms of implementing rule change, because like in the football there, they've brought in different things, the advanced mark from the kick out, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
There's no need for those rules, and I just my main reason for not wanting a black card in hurling is that I don't trust the GA to know what they're doing.
So how do you cut out the cynicism that is there?
Implement the rules as they are. You know,
Owen got a yellow card on Sunday, right, for a pullback, and rightly so. Sorry. Now, for the rest of the game, Owen Quirk was on an edge, and from there on in, he couldn't play the typical cornerback defender that's in your face, that's tackling hard, because he was on an edge, and in return, he was exposed a little bit in the second half, and he was taken off. So his penalty for pulling back somebody was a yellow card, and in return his game couldn't have been the same for the rest of it, and he had to be taken off. Now that to me is enough of a punishment. You know, when you do give away a yellow card like that on a little pullback, is that no, you're on a tender edge, another yellow and you're gone. So I think the penalty is a yellow card.
What about the obvious pull down or the pull back when there's a clear goal scoring opportunity? I saw some suggestions, and I have to say I'd agree with him in some sense, that if you're not going to have the black card, that you expand where your penalty zone is. That would say if you go inside the 21 and you're bearing down and go on your pull down penalty. Would that work rather than it being inside in the small part? You know, is there some way of doing it that way? Expand that zone?
I prefer that to black card.
Yeah, so would I. I think a black card would destroy our game. Again, most good forwards won't be pulled down; they'll be gone. So, that's the easy way out of the question. Maybe Derek, but I think if I get a penalty from my forward being pulled down, I have a great chance of getting a goal, don't I? It's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. My forward has created an atmosphere that he's got through, and maybe if he wasn't put down, maybe he would have got a goal, maybe it would have been saved. I don't know. It's 1-on-1 now with the goalkeeper. I think that's a big punishment. I'd nearly gone out absolutely eating my fullback or cornerback or halfback that pulls a player down, instead of trying to get the hook in. But I think the punishment is enough, maybe a yellow card, and it's a 21, or it's a penalty, or it's a free in. What more punishment do you want? Our game of hurling is a manly game. There's great technique in the tackling with one hand and standing up and squaring up, as there is in football, and we don't need to bring in an extra thing that's going to be in a grey area where we're going to be talking this time next year. Was it a black card? Wasn't it a black card? Was it a design pull down? Was it a good tackle? I think the rules are okay. We've a fantastic game. Don't touch it. Leave it. Just tighten up a little bit on the yellow card situation. Maybe giving the yellow card a little bit more than maybe a ticking. Maybe.
But you do concede that there is cynical play in hurling.
There's cynical in everything. Look, there's if I'm going out playing a game of squash, I try and get the upper hand by doing cynicism in squash. Yeah,
That's a podcast on its own, isn't it?
There is. Look at it. That's not so bad. Like, I think there's an awful skill in being able to get away with a pull of a jersey or getting away with a little trip that the referee doesn't see. So no, don't touch the game of hurling, please. Leave it as is. It's a great game.
Right, it'd be so boring if we sat here every day and agreed. So I think we'd enjoy that chat. We're going to press a quick pause, make sure we're all still talking, and we'll be back after this with chatting Clare's football win over Kildare. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the second half of this week's Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. We're all still talking, so we can continue on and move the conversation to football, where this week saw Clare pick up their first win of the National Football League campaign in what was a hugely spirited performance, I think everybody would agree, against Kildare in Cusack Park. Peter finally got Kildare out of Newbridge, and I suppose there was a poeticness in it in one sense, that the last time Kildare came to the park was in Colm Collins' first year, if I'm not mistaken. We'll all remember that qualifier, 6 points up I think at the break and lost by 1. This time held on, a lot to like about it, and in the bear pit and the absolute enigma that is Division 2, a huge 2 points.
Massive. Clare kind of had to win that game, and particularly the way other results went. Leash beating Armagh was quite a shock. But look, the thing that I really liked about Clare was their pure doggedness, now there was a few outstanding individual performances. Keelan Sexton's kicked 4 great points, left foot, right foot, one ball held on to, linked up play. He was superb. Gerard O'Brien had his best ever game for Clare. He's a player that has loads of natural ability, and I think just maybe he hadn't got a full chance up to now, or once or twice where he did get opportunities, didn't really kind of didn't really show what he can do, because he has a lot of natural ability. He kicks some great points, three great points in play. Kieran Russell, superb game, particularly in the first half, and I think he encapsulated, as did Keane O'Dea. They just brought fire, work great. They were grinding, tackling, putting the hand in. It really was. That's what impressed me most. Some great quality as well in terms of the scoring. But Clare outfought Kildare, and Kildare weren't able for it. No, it was a very tough day for football. Right at the start at 2:00, it looked like a spring day. I'd say by 2:10, it looked like the middle of winter. Sheets of rain, like winds, the whole lot. Very difficult to play. Kildare were 4 points up at one stage in the first half. Clare brought it back level at half time. And, going into those last, I suppose, 10 minutes when the game was there to be won, and when Clare's season was in the balance as well. I know it's a bit, you might think, it's a bit of an exaggeration to say their season is in the balance in the second league game of the year, but if they had lost that game, as they did narrowly to Westmeath, if they had lost to Kildare by a point or even drawn, I think it would have been hard enough to lift it again for Roscommon. But just a really, really good performance, and delighted to see Emmett McMahon coming in as well there for the last roughly 15 minutes. And again, if you're good enough, you'll be playing on this team. You'll be brought in, you'll be started. Killian Brennan, he drove forward from full back. I'd say he must have made six runs straight through the heart of the Kildare defence, like took on the game, saw the bit of space, went for it. Gordon Kelly, you could go through the whole lot of them. The kickouts from Stephen Ryan were very good as well. Clare retained most of the kickouts, went short with a lot of them out towards the sideline, good movement. So all in all, real typical Clare performance, dogged, and a nice bit of quality as well.
Yeah, and needed that response. I know we were maybe a little bit critical of them last week, but I think deservedly so, because we've, as we mentioned, we've praised them often enough. We knew there was an awful lot more in this squad, and by God, they proved that Sunday. But just a stat that kind of came to light, Fergie, over the weekend, and it's more of a general thing, I guess, in terms of league football or hurling in a lot of senses, from a home advantage point of view, that I think in the opening 2 rounds in Division 2, all the home teams have won. So that's taken form out of the window. That's taken, the Laois Armagh. We would have been a lot of people tipping Armagh, but it just goes to show your home points. People always talk about them. It sounds like a cliche, but it just shows how important they are, don't it?
Yeah, they're massive. And I was just listening to the previews before the Kildare game, and everybody was kind of saying how tough the task was against Kildare, with Jack O'Connor especially being at the helm there now. We're going to try and play an expensive Kerry kind of attacking game, and it was going to be very, very difficult for Clare. But people kept going back to, it's a home game for Clare, and it's one that they have to kind of win. And the most I was impressed in the week before against Westmeath on Colm Collins' interview afterwards. He put no punches on the first half performance, and how critical he was, and where the improvements needed to come. And I think in saying something, always to back it up and see, you can talk all day you want, but you need action after. I think, and listening to everybody talking, we saw everything that he spoke about after the Westmeath, and they were looking at to get a draw even out of that game. We saw the action put in place against Kildare, and somebody else noted that was at the game and said Kildare was so physical before the game. They were big men, but it was just, you can write this, probably wrote the script was wrote for both the hurlers and the footballers. If you work very hard and you decide that you're going to go at it, you have a great chance. You have a great chance. You have to take your look in and ride your look during a game. And I think for both Clare teams, both the footballers and the hurlers, it was all about the work ethic and all about throwing off the shackles and going at it. Okay, so sometimes the hurling wasn't pretty, and I'm sure the football at times broke down a little bit, but they kept working, and it was a great result in the park for Colm Collins.
Yeah, and on the road now, obviously, Peter, to Dr. Hyde Park, and it's incredible. I think if you had said before the league that after the first 2 rounds Roscommon would be bottom of the table, you'd have got fair long odds on that. And now here they are with their season probably in the balance. I mean, a third, failure to get a result from their perspective with 3 games gone. The next day out at half time, you're exactly midway through the campaign, so they have to get something out of that too.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge game for Roscommon. Roscommon, I'd say, know that their season rests on winning this game. So this is going to be a very, very tough one. But you'd have to say that what Clare do is you can be guaranteed that they'll maximise what they can do. They mightn't win, but they'll give it absolutely everything. And that's the first thing you look for from any team. Whether it's an adult inter-county team or an under 12 team taking part in the blitz, that they go out and that they express themselves, that they work hard, execute the basics as well as they can. And
Peter, can I ask one question? You were at it. Everybody's spoken about the loss of Gary Brennan, which is massive. Mm-hmm. Now, how have Clare, filled that gap, and how have they developed their game around such an influential player as Brennan has been over the last number of years? On Sunday, what did you see Clare doing something different that they have been doing over the last few years with the influence of Gary Brennan? What have they done different on Sunday? Did you see that, as I kind of said, to stop gap that kind of massive influential player gone?
This is only my own opinion, but I'm almost certain that Clare are not trying to replace Gary Brennan. Because you just can't. There's no point in trying to, replace someone like him or Jamie Malone. But what you have to do is try to make the best of who you have. And as good as Gary Brennan was and is, and hopefully will be again for Clare, Cathal O'Connor was almost. There were some years over the past 6 or 7 years that Cathal O'Connor would have had a better year than Gary. Now Gary, Cathal O'Connor, very, very consistent midfielder, and now highly experienced midfielder. Kieran Russell didn't play last year. I hadn't seen him play at midfield ever before, I have to say. As far as I know, he used to always play wing back or in around that area of the field. But purely I wasn't at the Westmeath game up in Mullingar, so I don't know how he played that day. But he was excellent at the weekend. And what Clare have, one key thing that Clare have across the board, they have a very, very high level of fitness and strength and conditioning, and they finished the game as well. So I don't think, years ago, Clare would not have survived without someone like Gary Brennan or Jamie Malone. They just would not have been able to survive. But because everyone now is at a fairly, is at a high level and a similar level in terms of fitness and in terms of strength and conditioning, a lot of the younger players have a lot of experience as well. I mean, Keelan Sexton, what's Keelan now, 23, is he?
He's a bit younger, I'd say.
22, 23. But he's 4 or 5 years inter-county experience behind him. Owen Cleary's in his mid-20s. He's 5 or 6 years, maybe even 1 or 2 onto that, of inter-county experience behind him. And then look at the younger players, the likes of Stephen Ryan in Kilrush. He's a very young goalkeeper. He's in his second year now. And you don't look at Stephen Ryan now when the ball is going in thinking, geez, I wonder what's going to happen here. You have confidence in what he does. So I don't think they've tried to replace Gary Brennan or Jamie Malone.
Right.
I think they've said, look, we just plow on here, and there's a good culture there. It's based on good preparation and making demands on each other, and I think they've just ploughed on and they've said, this is what we have and we go with this.
The Clare under 20 footballers train in Clarecastle, and I see them most nights training there under Mikey Nealon and Owen Murray, and I watch their preparation and I watch their setup, and it's fantastic. It's a real professional setup. Their training, I've stood by the wall just to watch their training on nights I'd be finished there myself, and it's absolutely top class training. The coaching is top class. Everything is absolutely scrutinised. I see their little bit of gigs afterwards upstairs when they go through different game plans and the detail that's in it. It's very, very professional. And I think Clare football, seen it firsthand at 20 level, which is going to be a vital link going forward for them. it's in safe hands with Mikey Nealon and Owen Murray, from what I can see at first hand.
And you can go down another grade then, and Dermot Coughlin, an outstanding man to have at minor level as well. So like you take Dermot, Mikey and Cullum, 3 unbelievably solid, and I mean from Cullum's perspective, the second most longest serving manager in the country, behind only Mickey Hart at the moment in terms of intercounty. Like, so you'd
isn't it a real key, guys? You know, minor, 20s and up to senior. Them 3 teams, especially at minor and 20s, have to be really, really properly prepared. The top level coaches brought in, the top level strength and conditioning. So I know Cullum Collins going forward has, in any given year, of the Jamie Malone's going, of the Gary Brennan's going, you get a few injuries, that there's supply down the chain, properly prepared and ready to step into it. And I've seen it firsthand, and I'd be very, very enthusiastic by Clare football going forward.
Yeah, hopefully. We know that the 20's out in a couple of weeks as well in Championship. We'll be previewing that when the time comes. Time has caught up with us though. We have to leave you on the Champion Sports Chat podcast. Didn't get to chat about the Camogie and the ladies football, but you can read about all that in the paper on Thursday this week. We've got reports and reaction from both those games at the weekend. And also, just to tease you a little bit, details in the paper on Thursday of possibly, and we're fairly confident it is, going to be the shortest ever game of soccer played in Clare top level Premier Division this year. Pick up the paper on Thursday for more details on that, and we're back with you next Tuesday. Do take care.